选票比子弹更为有力。林肯这句话很有道理，他为人类民主制度提供一个存在和发展的很好理由。民主选举可以确保权力和平移交，避免政治不稳，可以确保权力不会集中在少数人手中，可以确保在政府中能听到不同社会的声音和观点，允许不同政党参与，弥合各方之间的分歧，可以为公民提供参与国家决策过程的机会，可以使政客对其管制负责，如果做不好就不能连任，可以有助一个政府的认受性和合法性。最后，民主选举可以增强公民的主人翁意识和责任感。既然民主制度有那么多优点，为什么在一些民主国家，到现在还可以看到那么多不理性的事情？
根据维基百科，全球有108个国家，超过全球1半以上，都是采用这种制度。它强调人权、法治、平等，每个公民都有投票和参选的权利。在人类历史上，民主选举普遍被认为是最先进、最文明和最符合人性的政治制度。可是它既然那么受欢迎，那么美好，为什么到现在还是有那么多人为它吵过不休？还有这种制度下，大部分被选总统，最后任期的民调只剩下30%左右。现在的选举已不再是选拔有贤德和有能力的人，而是选出一位不是最糟糕的人当总统。民主选举其实已远离初衷，不再是一种可靠的制度。那么问题出现在什么地方呢？
制作本影片的目的是希望有更多人一起探索在民主制度下所出现的各种问题，从而把这些问题纠正过来，使民主成为一种真正可持续的政治制度。
赞同我们的朋友，请帮我们点赞、订阅，并把这套影片分享出去。
民主选举的困境。
困局一：选民的不正确投票取态。
有部分选民以外表、衣着和言谈作为投票标准，他们认为一位好的领袖应该是衣着光鲜、身形魁梧、雄辩滔滔，没有这些条件就不像一位领袖。他们竟然将外表、言谈和选票连上关系。另外，有些人会以意识形态作为投票准则，他们认为只要政见相同，选谁都是一样。他们居然把政治意识形态和管制能力画上等号。有些人会以家族政治背景作为投票准则，在一些民主国家，爸爸当个总统后不久，儿子再当总统。其实这种事情并不罕见，在历史上有很多这样的例子，例如美国总统布什父子、菲律宾总统马克思父子、加拿大总理杜鲁多父子等等。有没有感觉到民主好像是世袭制度的另一个版本呢？更有人以社会知名度作为投票准则，他们会倾向投票给一些知名的演员和大亨，原因可能他们已经是这些公众人物的忠诚粉丝，也可能他们被这些偶像的演技所误导，以为他们像在戏剧中真有能力做好总统这个角色。试问一位没有任何从政经验的人，又怎能领导好一个国家呢？这种选举取态简直是儿戏。最后，选民中有一部分人是受他人影响而投票的，有些选民是受公司或团体的领导所指示，有些年轻人是受父母和朋友所影响，亦有年长选民可能因智力和判断力下降而受他人所教唆和操控。对这些选民来说，投票不是他们意向所决定的，所以不算是真正的民主投票。其实没有正确的投票取态和不投票、乱投票本质上是没有太大分别的。当投票不能反映真实的选举情况时，它反而会增添选举结果的不确定性。这说明 为什么选举结果很多时都出乎人意料之外？
困局2：不了解候选人管制能力的问题。民主选举的主要目的是选出一位有素质的领导人来管制国家。如果选民对候选人的背景、从政经验、个人能力、操守和修养都一无所知，便随便投票给他们，是多么一件不负责任的事情。可是在现实里，要了解一位候选人，是一件多么不容易的事情。一般，我们只能在他们提供的政纲、演说、宣传片，甚至去他们的政党总部参观和讨论。还有，一般人只在竞选期间才去了解候选人。要在这么短促的时间就要决定谁好谁不好，好像不太现实。所以民主选举，一人一票，只是一个表面形式的游戏。要达到质的要求，它还需要进一步改善和优化。困局3：竞选经费所带来的问题。
竞选不单是比能力，亦是比财力。由印刷品、电视广告，请助理至租用地方，每一项目都涉及金钱。如果竞选经费不足，宣传不到位，纵使有经世才华，也得不到普遍认可。对独立候选人来说，竞选经费主要是靠自己掏钱包；对政党候选人来说，竞选经费可通过政党的会费和金主现金来支付。不用我多说，你也知道那一类候选人在竞选时比较有优势。其实现在的民主竞选制度并不是建立在平等的基础上，因为每一位候选人的资源都不一样，形成选举只是比资源，多个币管制能力和理念。
困局4：政治现金所带来的问题。
西方选举一般会利用募捐方法来筹集资金，愿意出资的人可以是个人，也有大机构。他们出钱的目的有些为了理念，但有些是为利益。不管怎样，募捐把金主和当选者的关系绑在一起，为日后的官商利益输送打下基础。选举后的政府当制定政策时会考虑他们金主的利益，形成日后官商勾结的情况。这种选举募捐方法其实是把贪污变成合法化，它背离民主理念，公平、清廉、公正。如果只有听话的候选人才能获得金主赞助时，选举便很容易被金主所操控，这样整个选举生态便会因此而改变。最后选举结果，你认为会是公平、公正和民主吗？
困局5：获选总统的认受性问题。
民主选举的主要理念是组成一个由多数人选出来的政府来管制国家，但在现实里，是否所有民主国家都能做到呢？在一些选举里，候选人得票竟然小于总票数的一半，而当选总统或议员，你会感觉奇怪吗？为什么有这样的事情？其实，在多党选举类，候选人要获得超过一半票数是比较困难，所以有些国家或一地区会进行2轮投票，得票最高2名候选人竞逐，直至其中一位获得 50% 以上，分出胜负后，选举便算结束。但是在有些地方只有1轮投票，结果便会出现少数当选的现象。例如2005年英国工党首相布莱尔得票只有 35.2%， 2009年以色列总理内塔利亚胡得票大约 27%， 1974年加拿大首相特鲁多得票只有 43%等等。这样的例子多不胜数，甚至在某些国家，因为计票是用选区人票 electoral votes， 而不是选举人票 popular votes， 虽然得票最高，获得最多选民支持的竟然落选。最典型的例子是在2016年美国总统大选，希拉里 v 特朗普。还有，在一些投票率低的地区，纵使得票超过 50%， 但因为投票人数少，所以选举结果也是没有代表性和认受性的，不能代表多数人的选举。你认为这种制度可靠吗？
困局6：选票的比重问题。民主选举已经历一段很长的时间， 我们已经习惯一人一票。可是大家有没有想过，同样是选民，例如一位还在上学、毫无工作经验的18岁学生，另一位是工作多年、见识广博的40岁医生，和一位躺在病床上、渐渐失去智力的90岁老人，他们同样都有权投票给自己喜欢的候选人。可是这些人的人生体验、学历、工作经验和分析能力都大有差别，计算选票时他们的比重怎可以是完全一样呢？举一个更明显的例子，在联合国投票时，每个国家都是一国一票，可是一个有14亿人口的中国和一个只有800人的梵蒂冈，他们的人口差别可谓说有天渊之别，怎可以一刀切，大家都是一票来计算呢？这种不顾内涵和比重的投票方法，大家想一想，是否合情合理和公平呢？又是否能满足现代文明的需求呢？困局7，投票期间出现各种舞弊问题。
不知大家有没有注意到，现在的民主制度已经渐渐倾向于民粹化，政党为了选票，只好迎合选民的品味和喜好。还有，为了赢出选举，他们会在选举期间各出奇谋，用尽各种卑鄙的方法去获得选票，例如利用金钱或好处来行贿选民，冒充选民身份去投票，故意把票算错，减少对手票数，发放假消息以打击对手，误导选民，故意泄露对手选民资料，扰乱其运作，阻止对手选民投票，例如不设投票站，还有篡改选票，把对手的选票变为自己的选票，更严重的，甚至刺杀的对候选人，使他们不能参选，和执政党发动战争来延长政权。当然可能还有其他更卑劣的手段，这些非理性的方法最终可能改变选举结局，改变的也包括我们对民主制度的期望和认同。你们愿意看到这样的选举局面继续下去吗？你们愿意看到民主最后变成人类唾弃的制度吗？
困局8，敌对国家的干预。现在的选举其实不单是一个国家的事情，在选举过程中，候选人还要考虑地缘政治和大国博弈的因素。基于国家安全和利益，他们会选择加入不同的阵营，故此不同的政治取态会引起敌对外来的干预。为了赢取选举，这些势力可能会进行各种破坏，包括金钱利诱、经济制裁或军事威吓，甚至他们会利用网上各种平台来引导舆论，鼓吹各种革命或颜色运动。更严重的，他们甚至会宣布选举无效，即拒绝承认被选总统等等。所以一个国家选举再不是任何孤立事件，国家选举已经变成地缘政治的一个重要环节。试想，如果一个受教唆和操控的选举，你认为会是一个可接受的选举吗？你认为它会是一个真正的民主选举吗？
其实，在选举时所遇到的问题，不单只是这些，还有其他，例如少数族裔投票时语言障碍问题，若是社群交通费问题，海外侨民回国投票问题，投票时资源浪费问题等等。可是我们不要被这些问题所困惑，以为民主制度真的是千疮百孔，一无是处，认定最后它会崩溃，或被其他制度所取代。如果它真的不行，就没有其他制度的国家愿意把它引进变成半民主制度，例如一些神权国家和一些共产主义国家。下一套影片我们将进一步探索，看看怎样解决这些民主选举中的问题。多谢大家收看，不要忘记点赞、订阅，并把影片分享出去。
The ballot is stronger than the bullet. The words spoken by Lincoln are quite sensible, as he offers a compelling rationale for the emergence and advancement of human democracy.
Democratic elections can ensure the peaceful transfer of power and avoid political instability. It can ensure that power is not concentrated in the hands of a few people. It can ensure that the voices and perspectives of different sectors of society can be heard in government. It allows different political parties to participate and bridge differences between them. It can provide citizens with the opportunity to participate in the national decision-making process. It can make politicians responsible for governance. If they do not do well, they will not be re-elected. It can contribute to the acceptance and legitimacy of a government. Finally, democratic elections can enhance citizens' sense of ownership and responsibility. Despite the numerous advantages of the democratic system, why do some democratic countries still experience irrational behavior? According to Wikipedia, there are 108 countries in the world. More than half of the world, which adopt this political system. It emphasizes human rights, the rule of law, and equality. Every citizen has the right to vote and stand for election. In human history, democratic elections are generally considered to be the most advanced, civilized, and most humane political system. Since it is so popular, it should be a perfect system. Why are people still arguing about this system until now? Also, under this system, most of the elected presidents only have about 30% left in the final term polls. When the election changes from selecting the talented and capable to not being elected by the worst candidate, everyone will understand that the election has moved away from its meaning. Democratic elections are no longer a reliable system. So what is the problem? The objective of this video. The producer hopes that more people will explore the various problems that arise under the democratic system, so as to correct these problems and make democracy a truly sustainable political system. Guys who agree with us, please click like, subscribe, and share the video with others. The dilemma of democratic elections.
Dilemma 1. Incorrect voting attitudes of voters. 1. Some voters mainly consider appearance, clothing, and speech when deciding their vote. They believe that a strong leader should be well-dressed, commanding, and articulate, and without these qualities, they don't fit the image of a leader. They misinterpret a connection between appearance, speech, and voter preferences. 2. Moreover, there are some individuals who utilize ideology as a determining factor in their voting decision. They hold the belief that, regardless of the candidate chosen, as long as they align with their political perspectives, the outcome will be the same. In fact, they equate political ideology with the capability to govern effectively. 3. Some individuals base their voting decisions on candidates' family and political background. It is not uncommon in democratic nations. After a father is elected as president, his son becomes president after a period of time. Historical examples include the Bush family in the United States, the Marcos family in the Philippines, and the Trudeau family in Canada. This raises the question of whether democracy inadvertently fosters a form of patrimonialism. 4. Some individuals consider social reputation when making their voting choices. They often support famous actors and wealthy individuals. This could be because they are already devoted fans of these public figures, or because they have been deceived by their acting abilities. They may believe that these idols are truly capable of fulfilling the role of a president, similar to how they portray characters in a drama. So, can you imagine how a person govern a country without any previous governance experience? This approach to elections is simply immature and disastrous. 5. Additionally, there are voters who are swayed by external influences. These individuals may be guided by corporate or group leaders, while others, particularly young people, may be influenced by the opinions of their parents and friends. Furthermore, There are older voters who may have experienced a decline in their cognitive abilities and decision-making skills, making them susceptible to being controlled by others. In these cases, the act of voting is not driven by their own intentions, which raises questions about the true democratic nature of the election process. In reality, there is little distinction between lacking a proper voting mindset and either abstaining from voting or voting haphazardly. When individuals do not approach voting with a thoughtful and informed mindset, it can lead to the unpredictability of the election outcomes, which is why the results are often surprising. Dilemma 2. The lack of understanding of candidates' governance capabilities.
The primary objective of democratic elections is to select a competent leader to govern the nation. However, if voters have reservations about a candidate's background and political experience, it becomes challenging to evaluate their personal abilities, ethics, and growth. Therefore, voting for candidates without careful consideration is an irresponsible act. In reality, understanding a candidate is a difficult task, as we mostly rely on their political platforms, speeches, and provided information. Some individuals even resort to watching propaganda videos or visiting party headquarters to engage in discussions. Also, the majority of individuals only become acquainted with the candidates during the campaign period. It appears impractical to determine the competence and integrity of candidates within such a limited time frame. Consequently, the principle of one person, one vote in democratic elections can be seen as a superficial game. To truly meet the standards of quality, further enhancements and refinements are necessary.
Dilemma 3. Problems arising from the financing of political campaigns. The election is not just about a competition of capabilities, but also about financial resources. Every aspect of the campaign, from printing materials and airing TV commercials to hiring staff and renting venues, requires money. If there is a lack of campaign funds and insufficient publicity, even someone with incredible talent may not gain widespread recognition. Independent candidates primarily rely on their own funds for their campaigns, while political party candidates can cover their campaign expenses through party dues and donations from supporters. It is evident that certain types of candidates have an advantage in elections. The current democratic election system is not built on equal footing. This is because each candidate has varying resources at their disposal. The formation of elections is more constrained by resources rather than the candidate's abilities and ideas.
Dilemma 4. Problems raised by political donations. Party elections typically employ fundraising techniques to generate funds. Potential donors can be either individuals or major institutions, and their motivations for contributing money can vary, ranging from supporting ideas to seeking profit. Nevertheless, fundraising creates a connection between donors and the elected officials, establishing a basis for the future exchange of government and business interests. Subsequently, governments take into account the concerns of their sponsors when shaping policies, potentially leading to a scenario where collusion between the government and business community emerges. This method of electoral donation actually legalizes corruption. It deviates from the ideals of democracy, fairness, incorruptibility, and impartiality. If only obedient candidates can obtain sponsors, elections are easily manipulated by donors. In this way, the entire electoral ecology will change. Do you think the final election result will be fair, just and democratic?
Dilemma 5. The problems of accepting the elected presidents. Can all democracies effectively fulfill the main purpose of democratic elections, which is to elect a government to govern the country? Do you find it peculiar that in certain elections, the president or congressman is elected, despite receiving less than half of the total votes? Why does this occur? In multi-party elections, it becomes even more challenging to secure over 50% of the votes. Hence, some countries or regions opt for a second round of voting, where the top two candidates with the highest votes compete, until one of them surpasses the 50% threshold. Once a winner is determined, the election is considered conclusive. However, there are instances where only one round of voting takes place, resulting in minority presidents or congressmen being elected. For instance, in 2005, Blair from the British Labour Party secured a mere 35.2% of the votes. Similarly, in 2009, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu received approximately 27% of the votes. In 1974, Trudeau received only 43% of the votes, so on and so forth. There are numerous similar examples available. In certain countries, the electoral vote system is used to determine election outcomes, instead of popular votes. However, this can lead to situations where the candidate with the highest number of popular votes actually loses. The 2016 U.S. presidential election between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump is a prime example of this. Additionally, in areas with low voter turnout, even if a candidate receives over 50% of the votes, the election results may not accurately represent the majority, due to the small number of voters. This raises questions about the reliability of a system that fails to truly represent the majority of people's choices in elections.
Dilemma 6. The issue of vote weighting. Democratic elections have been a long-standing practice, and we have grown accustomed to the principle of one person, one vote. However, have you ever considered the scenario where different individuals, such as an 18-year-old student still in school with no work experience, a mature 40-year-old doctor with extensive professional knowledge, and a 90-year-old man losing cognitive abilities while hospitalized, all possess the right to vote for their preferred candidate? Since the varying life experiences, educational backgrounds, work histories, and analytical capabilities, should we treat their votes to be of equal importance and weight? To provide a clearer illustration, let's consider the voting system in the United Nations. Each country, regardless of its size or population, is granted one vote. However, it is worth pondering the significant contrast between China, with a population of 1.4 billion, and the Vatican, which comprises only 800 individuals. In light of this, it becomes questionable whether a uniform approach that disregards connotation and proportion is just and reasonable. Can such a system adequately cater to the requirements of a modern civilization?
Dilemma 7. Multiple instances of fraud during the voting process. Have you noticed the gradual rise of populism in the current democratic system? Political parties now have to cater to the preferences and desires of voters in order to secure their votes. To win elections, they resort to various tactics, some of which are unethical. These tactics include bribing voters, impersonating voters, manipulating vote counts, spreading false information to mislead voters, deliberately leaking information about opponents' voters to disrupt their operations, disrupting opponents' campaigns, and obstructing opponent voters from voting. More extreme, even resorting to assassinations to prevent candidates from running for office, and launching a war to prolong the regime of the ruling party. These actions can ultimately change the outcome of an election. This shift also affects our expectations and perception of the democratic system. Do you think this trend will continue? Do you fear that democracy will eventually become a system despised by humanity?
Dilemma 8. Elections intervened by external forces. The elections taking place today is not a matter solely confined to one country. Candidates must also take into account geopolitical factors and the influence of major powers. Political parties tend to align themselves with different foreign camps based on ideologies, national security and interests, leading to external interference. The external forces, in order to secure victory for a favored regime, may resort to tactics such as offering financial incentives, imposing economic sanctions, or employing military intimidation. They may also utilize various platforms to manipulate public opinion and promote revolutions or color movements. In more extreme cases, They may even declare the election invalid and refuse to recognize the elected president. Hence, a national election is no longer a standalone event. It has evolved into a significant component of geopolitics. If a foreign country initiates and manipulates an election, do you believe it would be deemed acceptable? Do you believe it is truly a democratic election?
In fact, the challenges during elections go beyond the ones mentioned. These also include language barriers that hinder ethnic minorities from voting, lack of transportation fees that disallow the underprivileged groups to vote, difficulties faced by overseas nationals returning home to vote, and wastage of resources during the voting process, etc. However, it is important not to be misled by these problems and assume that the democratic system is deeply flawed and ineffective. If the democratic system truly did not work, there would be no countries, including both theocratic and communist nations, are willing to adopt it and evolve into a semi-democratic system. In the upcoming videos, we will delve deeper into these issues and discuss potential solutions for democratic elections. We appreciate your viewership and kindly ask you to support our channel by liking, subscribing, and sharing the video.